What Nostradamus predicts for Donald Trump is scary. His prophecies are truly shocking, and apparently he has marked himself again. Consider this. Nostradamus predicted that the hidden false Trump will be exposed, one of blood and the other of mixed laws. He will be taken down by the great shadow, one of the largest, caught at night. The unknown voice has teamed up with a great leader in North America. A free man will be born. The great empire will come to an end. The man will be challenged by many. The great star will burn for 7 days. The cloud will become double shadow. The big dog will suffer all night when the big pontifical changes territory. In the midst of the great tidings of the deep sea, and someone Moses and Mosey fear, their words and deeds in dark times will prosper. The big ship will be taken by the clouds to a far and dangerous place. A brave leader will rise from the shadows, and many kings will be his allies. The great wall will rise in the north and divide lands and nations. The man with yellow hair will rise, and many will die under his decisions. The great shadow in the western world will unite with its brothers, the rough sea and the strong winds. The land of the free will be tested. The man in the high tower who commands from above will be challenged by many, but few will have the courage to overthrow him. The great leader, in his hunger for power, will bring discord and conflict to the nations. The land of the free will tremble, but new hope will emerge in the 7th month of the great millennium. From heaven will arise a great king of terror. He will resurrect the great king of the Mongols before and after, reigning in good fortune. Now let's analyze each prophecy that Nostradamus preaches to Donald Trump, which is shocking to everyone. The king will tremble with discord and will have a bloody mouth, swimming in blood. Nostradamus made many predictions, including the rise of Nazism in Germany and the violent French Revolution. As a result, many people became curious about his prophecies about America. Interestingly, America also has its own Nostradamus, who predicted every presidential election in the United States over the last 40 years, with over 90% accuracy. We're talking about Alan Lichtman. Alan Lichtman has correctly predicted the winner of presidential elections for the past 40 years. Do you want to know how accurate these two characters were and what they predicted for Donald Trump in 2024? Stay here with me as we explore all of this together. If you like themes like this and haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button right below the video. Nostradamus's past predictions may show that he did not have all this knowledge already determined. This can give you a lot of flexibility to predicate many of these things. When you hear the name Nostradamus, the first thing you remember are the apocalyptic prophecies and predictions of the end of the world. Michel de Nostradam, known as Nostradamus, has a fascinating story. Little is known about his family's life, but historians agree that he came from a noble family, as he showed signs of someone who received a good education. He dedicated much of his life to practicing medicine and treating contagious diseases. But there is no confirmation that he had a doctorate. Little knew him until he published his book Les Prophéties in 1555. This collection of 942 prophetic comics made Nostradamus very popular, especially in 16th century France. The verses address various themes, from natural disasters and wars to political desperation and social change. So that you can more quickly and easily understand all these signs, we are facing difficult times in which prophecies are being fulfilled, but many do not realize what is happening around the world. For this reason, I decided to offer a gift to all channel subscribers, a digital ebook, The Secret of the Holy Bible, so that you can access it immediately. The link is in the first comment. In this book, I reveal all the secrets of biblical prophecies that will shock you. Don't waste time. Click on the first pinned comment because we only have a few units available and they will be taken soon. Now that you know some of Nostradamus's prophecies, let's discuss his shocking predictions for Donald Trump. How would you feel to know that there is a Nostradamus alive today? We are not referring to the Frenchman Michel de Nostradam, but in fact to Alan Lichtman, popularly known as the Nostradamus of the U.S. presidential elections. He has an impressive track record, having correctly predicated 9 of the last 10 U.S. presidential elections. With his approximate system and data, Lichtman is preparing to predict the next election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. In case you've never heard of him, Lichtman is a seasoned history professor at the American University of Washington and began his election prediction journey more than 40 years ago. While Donald Trump acknowledged the prediction of his earlier victory, he did not understand the deeper meaning of Lichtman's system. In 1981, while working as a visiting scholar at the California Institute of Technology, Lichtman collaborated with Vladimir Kailas-Borok, a famous forecasting researcher with a strong interest in American politics. Their collaboration resulted in the famous 13 Kodos for the White House, an innovative method that examines presidential elections from the perspective of stability versus disruption. The approval of the 13 Kodos combines models of historical stability with contemporary political dynamics and has become a key tool in electoral forecasting. Lichtman joked that he discovered the Kodos by accident. He said he would love to say that I developed my system by examining files and in deep contemplation, but to quote the great old Richard Nixon, that would be wrong. But how exactly do the 13 Kodos work? You're about to be impressed. The 13 Kodos for the White House are the only prediction system in the entire world. Now everyone can become an election forecaster using the 13 Kodos. Kodos are true or false questions designed to signal the chances of the party in power. These Kodos evaluate several factors of the party in power, including economic conditions, social disagreements, significant policy changes, and the candidate's charisma. If 6 or more Kodos are false, it indicates that the current party is likely to lose power. Unlike the French Nostradamus, these are not mystical prophecies but a data-driven approach. Kodos also consider factors such as the party's performance in midterm elections, the presence of a strong challenger, the state of the economy, public perception of the leader, and foreign policy. Analyzing these fundamental aspects, Lichtman's model has correctly predicted every presidential election since 1984, making it a powerful tool for understanding the dynamics that influence elections in the United States. Next, we will reveal Nostradamus' prophecy of the U.S. presidential elections for 2024. How accurate is Nostradamus of the U.S. presidential elections? Let's remember briefly to understand Lichtman's decision. When Lichtman and Kailas-Borok published their encounters in an academic journal, they attracted the attention of an associate press science journalist, directing him to an article in the Washington Post called "Odd Couple Discovers the Keys to the White House." The audience was excited about the theories, but wanted to see Lichtman apply them in practice. An opportunity finally arose in April 1982. Lichtman used keys from the Washingtonian newspaper to predicate that despite the economic recession, low approval ratings, and advancing time for Ronald Reagan, he would run for re-election 2 years later. The president's response to his prediction surprised him. Lichtman was immediately invited to the White House after publishing his prediction. He met several officials, including Vice President George Bush. In 1988, in May and June, George Bush lost 18 points against his opponent Michael Dukakis, but ended up winning easily. Asked about the outcome if Reagan chose not to run for re-election, Lichtman suggested that the incumbent party would miss several critical keys, including the essential factor of Reagan's charisma. Lichtman's analysis was accurate. Without Reagan's charisma, Republican candidate George Bush would have struggled. Bush's ability to capitalize on the positive aspects of Reagan's legacy, including peace, economic prosperity, domestic stability, and progress in relations with the Soviet Union, contributed to his victory. Voters appear to want to see these trends continue under Bush's leadership. Despite his successive predictions, Lichtman faced criticism from some academics. These critics have argued that his system relies excessively on subjective judgment, a significant flaw in scientific predictions. Lichtman defended his approach, highlighting that its keys were clearly defined and based on historical analysis. He argued that historians make judgments based on evidence and that his system was no different. His record of success helped further validate his approach. Lichtman's persistence paid off. Over the next 15 to 20 years, attitudes within the academic forecasting community changed. As complex mathematical models proved unreliable, forecasters began to see the value of combining statistical analysis with informed judgment, similar to Lichtman's approach. His keys to the White House system gained popularity, and Lichtman became a talking head. He presented his ideas at forecasting conferences, wrote articles in academic journals, and even shared his knowledge with the CIA about how his system could be applied to foreign elections. Remarkably, his predictions continued to be accurate. Despite his higher approval scores after the Gulf War, Lichtman predicted that George Bush would be a one-term president, leading many high-profile Democrats to avoid challenging him. Then, Lichtman got a call from a special assistant to Governor Bill Clinton in Little Rock, Arkansas. "Are you saying George Bush can be defeated in 1992? She asked. Lichtman confirmed his prediction. Clinton won the Democratic primaries and ultimately defeated Bush in the presidential election. The Clintons have been big fans of the keys ever since, as Lichtman noted. Before continuing with the video, an important message. Don't forget to grab your copy of our book. It's in the first pinned comment of this video. Lichtman, predicting 9 of the 10 past American elections, faced a notable failure, or, as he claims, his prediction did not fail, but the election was rigged. Let's take a closer look at this surprising flaw. Lichtman faced one of the most turbulent years of his forecasting career in 2000, when he predicted a victory for Democratic Vice President Al Gore against George Bush, the Republican governor of Texas. Although Gore won the popular vote, he lost the Electoral College by a slim margin. However, Lichtman maintains that his prediction was right. He claimed the election was stolen. According to him, the real votes indicated that Al Gore should have won decisively, but many black votes that were favorable to Gore were discarded. He compiled his results in a report for the United States Commission on Civil Rights, saying that 1 in every 9 to 10 black votes was thrown out, in contrast to 1 in every 50 black votes. He also explained that most of these discarded votes were not the famous Chads, but in fact other votes. Black votes were told to hit Gore and Lieberman, to be sure, and those votes were discarded. He added that political scientists have already examined the election and verified its results. Based on voter intensity, he argued that Al Gore should have won by tens of thousands of votes. He added that he firmly believed he was right about the 2000 election. At the very least, he argued that no definitive prediction could be considered completely right or wrong, allowing for arguments on both sides. He maintained that he and many others supported his record, citing that he was right in all 10 predictions. However, even if it were argued that he was only right 9 times out of 10, he pointed out that this was still an impressive dash record. Before we reveal what this modern Nostradamus predicted for Donald Trump in 2024, let's look at his prediction for the 2016 elections, which surprised Americans. Lieberman's prediction for Trump in 2016 might have been his most impressive prediction, challenging polls, commentators, and conventional wisdom. He predicted that Donald Trump, a former reality TV star with no political or military experience, would achieve an unlikely victory over a former Secretary of State. In 2016, how could he know? He explained that the 6th critical key was the contest key, which referred to Bernie Sanders' challenge against Hillary Clinton. As no incumbent was running for re-election, the Democrats did not have the typical advantages of an incumbent candidate. Additionally, the party performed poorly in the 2014 midterm elections, losing another key. The lack of a domestic achievement after the Affordable Care Act, and the absence of a major foreign policy success after the elimination of bin Laden also weighed on the outcome. There were just enough keys, he said, and it was not an easy decision. After the election, Lichtman received a copy of an interview in the Washington Post where he made the prediction. It was written with a Sharpie pen. Congratulations, Professor. Good prediction, Donald Trump. However, in the same conversation, Lichtman also predicted, again accurately, that presidential elections are fundamentally a referendum on the performance of the party in power, and that Trump would face an impeachment. His predictions extended to 2020, with Trump's difficulties in handling the pandemic. The pandemic was what hurt him, he said. Trump congratulated him for predicting his victory, but did not understand the importance of the keys. The essence of the keys is that governance, not just campaigning, determines the outcomes. Instead of addressing the pandemic substantially, as we saw, he believed he could get away with talking. This eventually led to his defeat in 2020. Lichtman presented the keys as one of 3 classic forecasting models at the American Political Science Association. Now we have reached the most epic moment of the video. What is Lichtman's Nostradamus prediction for Trump in 2024? In recent months, Lichtman has been invited to deliver keynote speeches at Asian and Brazilian financial conferences, at the Oxford Union, and at J.P. Morgan. As another election approaches, he remains skeptical about polls indicating that Trump is ahead of Biden. I am about to reference. But this shows Donald Trump with a steady lead in a head-to-head rematch against President Biden, putting Trump at 49% and Biden at 43% during the 2024 presidential election. Nostradamus said he has not yet made a final prediction. He reminded about his 13 keys to the White House model, which has been correct since 1984 in 10 consecutive elections. A recent Reuters poll shows that voters in the United States see Trump as more favorable for the economy than President Biden. In this 3-day survey, 41% preferred Trump's economic policies, while 34% favored those of Biden. However, Lichtman warned that early polls should be taken seriously, but they have no predictive value. They are just snapshots and momentary, indicating the position of the candidates if the elections were held today. But the election is not being held today, so these polls are not useful for predictions. Early polls can often mislead you, Lichtman told NDTV. Furthermore, he also reminded people about the accuracy of his prediction of Donald Trump's victory in 2016, despite the results of polls and media coverage to the contrary. He also mentioned the 1988 election, when George Bush overcame a 17-point deficit against Michael Dukakis to win with a 25-point turnaround. These examples demonstrate why it is essential to look beyond polls and commentators and focus on the broader picture, as indicated by the keys. Lichtman is expected to make his final prediction for the 2024 presidential election in early August. He points out that Biden already holds the incumbency key, and after easily defeating symbolic challengers in the Democratic primaries, he also holds the contest key. This means that 6 additional keys would need to turn against him to predict his defeat. A lot would have to go wrong for Biden to lose. It is also important to mention that Lichtman places importance on the selection of vice presidential candidates and has never altered his prediction in response to an October surprise. However, he admits that no predictive model is entirely immune to surprising events. But does this mean his model could fail? Speaking during the week when a jury was selected for Trump's criminal trial in New York, related to a hush money payment to an adult film actress, it seems that a Trump appeal for the New York criminal trial could occur just days before the November election. Lichtman explained that his keys for predicting election outcomes are based on historical data and trends. These keys were developed broadly from 1860 to the present day. Since 1984, this historical base allows the keys to capture and reflect significant changes and developments in various aspects of society, including the economy, demographics, and political landscape. By examining patterns and trends over this extensive period, the keys provide a robust framework for understanding and predicting election outcomes, or how historical context influences contemporary elections. However, he quickly added that his model, like all human models, is not immune to errors. Lichtman spoke about the possibility of failure, which is enlightening in recognizing the potential limitations of his predictive model. He noted that the current American election has elements that are outside the historical scope, specifically referring to the situation where the former President Trump, a significant candidate, is undergoing a criminal trial. He suggests that if this candidate is convicted, a scenario he considers likely, This could significantly disrupt or confuse the usual factors that his keys consider when predicting election outcomes. Simply, his model does not capture the potential effect of Trump's conviction or his possible incarceration. This shows that Lichtman's keys have historically been reliable in predicting election outcomes based on established patterns. It seems that this will put him in a very difficult position to predict the winner of this year's election. Millions of people will be anxious on the night of November 5th. After 4 decades involved in election predictions, Lichtman will have another period to experience the anxiety. It's distressing because many would be happy to see him fail, he acknowledges. And if he fails, he admits that he is human. This does not mean that his system is wrong. Nothing is perfect in the human world. Returning to what we were discussing, does the French Nostradamus have any prophecy for Donald Trump in 2020? Readers of Nostradamus speculate about his prophecies for the future. In this prophecy, Nostradamus speaks of a false trumpet hiding madness, causing changes in laws and standards. The interpretation suggests that this false trumpet represents Donald Trump, whose actions and controversial policies during the first term led to significant changes in the domestic and international relations of the United States. The mention of Byzantium symbolizes the United States, indicating a transformation in its governance and politics. The prophecy also mentions Egypt and the withdrawal of a mandate, suggesting that Trump will win the election and make radical changes in regulations and standards, especially in financial matters. The prophecy still mentions that the ruler will tremble with discord and will have a bloody mouth swimming in blood, which denotes the chaos and conflict associated with Trump's presidency, including his divisive words and aggressive approach to politics. Overall, the prophecy is interpreted as a warning that a second presidential term for Trump would be entirely marked by deception and recklessness for the nation and the world. Another prophecy of Nostradamus that seems to talk about a possible victory for Trump for a second term is when he mentions that a great, shameless fighter will be elected governor of the army. They explain that the term shameless fighter aligns with Trump's aggressive and reckless behavior, which has always defined his political career. His election as governor of the army is interpreted as a metaphor for assuming political leadership over America, reflecting Trump's role as commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces. Nostradamus also said that the leader would cause a broken bridge and a city to faint from fear, suggesting that Trump's leadership would have a disruptive and disturbing impact on the United States. This may include his approach to foreign policy and national security. This interpretation calls for fear about the potential consequences of Trump's bold and assertive actions, both domestically and internationally. Don't forget to download our book, The Secret Behind Biblical Prophecies. Over 500,000 copies have been sold, and we are down to the last few units, so don't waste time and take advantage of this. I guarantee that you will gain a lot of knowledge after reading this sensational book, made with a lot of care and love for all subscribers of our channel, totally based on the Holy Bible. The link is in the first pinned comment. Click now on the video that is appearing on your screen to discover more about what the future holds for us. On our channel, you will find a detailed analysis of Nostradamus's prophecies and their possible implications for future events. We will explore how his 16th century visions continue to fascinate and intrigue, linking them to contemporary events. In addition, we will dive into other intriguing and debated prophecies of Nostradamus, from natural disasters to global, social, and political changes. If you are curious to see how these prophecies may influence the current and future world, don't miss the upcoming videos. We will also explore the predictions of other famous seers and examine how their visions align or contrast with those of Nostradamus. We will discuss the methodologies behind these prophecies, the historical accuracy, and the diverse interpretations that make these studies so controversial and fascinating. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications to not miss any updates. Every week we bring new and exciting content about historical mysteries, predictions, and unexplained phenomena. Join us on this journey of discovery and reflection on what the future may hold for us. Don't forget to download our book, The Secret Behind Biblical Prophecies. There are already more than 500,000 copies sold, and we are at the last units, so don't waste time and enjoy. I guarantee that you will acquire a lot of knowledge after reading this sensational book, written with great care and love for all the subscribers of our channel, completely based on the Holy Bible. The link is in the first pinned comment.